Hi, everyone. The topic of today is God sometimes gives us what we want, quote unquote, want, but the outcome isn't what you think. I really want to focus on, the topic of free will, but from a different angle this week. God, God's will be done according to his plans and because he is the Almighty. But sometimes he really gives us what we quote unquote want just to let us get a taste of the consequences of our own choosing when we disobey him or when we just don't trust him in leading us to the path that is ultimately good for us, that will ultimately help us mature in this Christian life. It could be that we're after earthly things that will burn away when we're facing the eternal judgment, or other sinful things that we just didn't want to give up, like sinful pleasures. So the first example from the Bible is First Samuel chapter 8, when the Israelites wanted a king like all of the other nations around them, and Samuel the priest was displeased with this request, but Jehovah the Lord said that it is not you that they are rejecting, it is I that the people are rejecting, so give them what they want. And read First Samuel, Second Samuel, we all know the story that Saul was not a bad king at the beginning, but we know he's not a king after the Lord's heart, and therefore the Lord rose up David. But the people did get a taste of their own medicine because Jehovah the God warned everyone that, hey, you want a king that's going to tax you? Seriously? Yeah. And then the second example is that in Numbers 11:20, quails were given to the Israelites when they were complaining about having food but not having meat. And so Jehovah the Lord again gave them what they wanted, and they eventually ended up overeating, and the meat came out of their nostrils. Um, and then this is even more prevalent, and it comes off as even more harsh in Romans chapter 1, verses 24, 26, and 28, when God literally gives sinners up to their own desires. And I think this is from Paul explaining to his recipients, the Romans, what was happening in the Roman Empire at the centrality of the power, of the peak of power, what these royalties were doing. Of course, not everyone is doing that, but apparently a lot of them were succumbing to the desires of the flesh, the desires of lust, of vainglory, and then out comes malice. There's a whole list. Just read Romans 1. And then the last one is Jesus crucified. The people literally wanted him to be crucified. They even demanded Pilate to give them back a prisoner in return. And of course, we know it is a symbol of us, we as sinners, that Jesus died for our sins. But in a way, when you look at that story again, the Israelites demanded that the blood be on them and on the generations that are to come after them. So basically, they not only cursed themselves, but they also cursed their own children and grandchildren. Um, and I just, again, I feel like all prophetic words should be for encouragement. Um, I just want to encourage you that do not lean on your own understanding. If God has spoken something, if He has promised you something, don't lean on your own understanding and just try to grab at something that seems concrete for the moment, but it might bring destruction in the long run. And I I really want to bless everyone to gain wisdom from the Lord and to constantly seek Him. God bless.